Welcome to News Today with WDW News Today. I'm Tom Corliss. Here now the news for May 11th, 2020. Today, Disney CEO Bob Chapek gave an exclusive interview to CNBC just hours after Shanghai Disneyland was closed following its first historic day back in operation in the aftermath of the pandemic. Chapek referred to Shanghai as a short book market where typically tickets are sold on a week-by-week basis. The phased reopening was controlled through the sale of significantly constrained ticket quantities. Chapek stressed the fact that the fans can't wait for the parks to reopen, as many look to it as the return to some semblance of normal. In terms of furthering the current phased reopening, Chapek remarked that the company needs to be very conservative, very prudent in moving forward. At Shanghai Disneyland, the plan is to increase the amount of guests by 5,000 each week with the government's permission. When asked whether the parks can potentially manage 100% capacity while maintaining social distancing guidelines, Chapek answered that it really depends on the guests. He emphasized the need for guests to be diligent about maintaining social distancing. Chapek declined to comment on any specific reopening dates of any other resort properties, as he stated that it will depend on the state and local government regulations, plus hospital capacity at medical centers near the Disney parks. With Disney Springs reopening on May 20th, they're looking to test protocols much like they did with Disneytown and Shanghai Disney. CNBC asked the key components needed to get the parks to reopen, and to that, Chapek responded that social distancing as well as masks will be required for all cast members and guests. While masks are a cultural norm across parks in Asia, he also recognized that guests across the U.S. Will have to adapt to wearing a mask in a hot, humid environment. As the conversation shifted to movies, Chapek stated that the limited capacity across movie theaters moving forward will mainly be an issue on Friday evenings and weekends and can be something that is managed by exhibitors the company partners with. Big tentpole films will continue to go to theaters, but they'll continue to look at Disney Plus for releases on a case-by-case basis in order to remain flexible with theater releases. Finally, Chapek was asked about his ongoing tenure as CEO, where former CEO Bob Iger has had to notably step in at various stages throughout the health crisis. He said, quote, "This is an unprecedented situation. I knew there would be disruption in my tenure as CEO, but I didn't realize it would happen that fast or that profoundly." Chapek mentioned that the company is wholeheartedly embracing a team approach to figure out what's best for investors, guests, and cast members alike. In closing the series of questions regarding parks films and his tenure as CEO, Chapek said Disney will be back stronger than ever. Despite the reopening of Disney Springs coming up on May 20th, Walt Disney World Resort has now announced they will only begin accepting reservations for travel dates starting July 1st and later. Disney has been regularly notifying guests whose Walt Disney World or Disneyland Resort hotel bookings are being impacted by the temporary closures, letting them know that they may modify or cancel their Disney Resort hotel reservations or company travel packages. We expect that this notification process will continue 1 week at a time, including any potential reservations to be canceled still for June 2020. Unexpired multi-day theme park tickets with unused days or date-specific theme park tickets with a valid use period beginning March 12th through the closure will automatically be extended to use any day through December 15th. If you're unable to visit by December 15th, you may apply the value of a wholly unused ticket towards the purchase of a ticket for a future date. Hard ticket events, including Disney Villains After Hours, are now unavailable until July. When attempting to purchase tickets to the event, the calendar automatically begins in July, with only July 6th and 10th available, final two scheduled dates for the event. However, Disney has already begun canceling tickets for the July 6th event, meaning it's likely to be removed from the schedule in the near future. Guests with reservations at Walt Disney World Resort in June and July are reporting having received surveys sent out by Disney Parks to gauge their interest in keeping or canceling their upcoming reservations. The survey interviews guests based on the following assumptions. Stay-at-home restrictions have been lifted and you're able to travel. No restrictions in Central Florida prevent you from traveling to the area. And travel providers in Central Florida attractions, including the Walt Disney World Resort, will have implemented a new set of health and safety measures. Guests are then asked whether they'd consider keeping or canceling their reservations based on the pace of new infections across various areas, testing, treatments, and vaccines, pricing, and availability of other theme parks, attractions, dining, and shopping venues. Even factors like flight safety and Florida beaches are taken into account. Disney is also trying to gauge the current socioeconomic circumstances most guests are facing, as many people have been either laid off or furloughed and may not be able to afford the vacation they once planned, or otherwise prioritizing this time after restrictions are lifted to make up for lost wages by taking on additional work. Guests are asked to list rides, shows, or other entertainment experience that, if unavailable, would make them cancel. what activities they feel comfortable doing and within what time frames, be it now, in the next month, the next 2 to 3 months, 4 to 6 months, or more than 6 months from now. The rebuilt and remodeled McDonald's near Disney's All-Star Resorts at Walt Disney World is just weeks away from opening. The location features an expansive V-shaped roof lined with solar panels. All along the perimeter of the McDonald's, additional solar panels power the parking lights. Despite so many construction projects being halted during the pandemic, construction has remained active on this McDonald's, with contractors on site overseeing the final touches. The overall theme of the building design is a heavy eco-friendly vibe between the solar panels, wood accents, and lush garden walls. And that's not the least of it. Over by the entrance to the drive-thru and the parking lots, guests drive by a swirling garden with a McDonald's logo in vibrant green. They've also installed a small activity zone with a platform covered in AstroTurf and bright green stationary bicycles parked outside. The drive-thru will feature 2 ordering bays that split into a Y formation. Buses and trucks will get their own dedicated lane to enter the parking. Flamingo Crossings has also continued construction during the park closures. Flagler Avenue is where many of the complex's hotels will be located. Compared to our last visit, work on some building has progressed. A parking garage appears to be being built, and we could see the westerly under construction. A rendering of the finished complex can be seen on the construction fencing. Flamingo Crossings will also be home to new housing for the Disney College program, which you can see in the photo we're showing you now. These seem to be much further along than the hotels at this point, and work on these apartment-style buildings seems to be moving along rather nice. Work on a new hotel extension called the Kove has progressed as well. If you aren't familiar with this project, it's the newest addition to the Walt Disney World Swan and Dolphin. Those red and white cranes are still on site, becoming as large a landmark as the Swan and Dolphin statues themselves. Floors are still being added to the building. Last time it appeared they had 4 floors built, but now we're counting 7. Yeah, 7. Located in what is currently the parking lot of the Fantasia Gardens miniature golf course, the Cove will host 349 rooms designed with large groups and convention attendees in mind. STK Orlando at Disney Springs, along with a handful of other third-party restaurants, is reopening on May 20th after the closures. The restaurant is now available to book via Open Table, with additional seating options denoting an emphasis on outdoor seating. As with all restaurants currently reopening as part of Phase 1, all indoor seating is limited to 25% capacity. All other guests must be seated outdoors, with tables having at least 6 feet of space in between. STK has not issued their health and safety guidelines just yet. We can expect all the restaurants to follow the same semblance of these guidelines in order to operate in this post-COVID world. Haagen-Dazs ice cream has also announced it will reopen. No further details have been released at this time, but we're sure we'll hear more as the reopening date nears. The Oriental Land Company has announced that the reopening date of the Tokyo Disney Resort will be decided after the state of emergency ends, which is currently set for May 31st. The opening of the vast new Fantasyland expansion is now set for an unknown date in the future. Guests with unused tickets dated or expiring between February 29th and June 30th can have their ticket changed to an open-dated ticket expiring March 31st, 2021. Guests with annual passports will have their expiration date extended. No word on how this will affect the planned Disney Easter event that was set to begin on March 27th at Tokyo Disney Sea. It may not even open in the time that event was taking place. With the opening of Shanghai Disney, Hong Kong Disneyland Resort is also gearing up for its imminent reopening. Temperature check tents are set up just outside the resort entrance near the arrival hub for all shuttles and the train. Signs are out informing guests that everyone must undergo temperature screening in order to access the resort grounds. All along the entrance to the park, additional queues are set up with temporary barricades, ensuring there is space in between lines of guests. Along these queues, there are markers on the ground reminding guests to maintain social distancing at all times. Bright white markers also indicate where not to stand. Along the park promenade, additional tape markers are placed throughout for social distancing throughout these areas as well. Meanwhile, at the resorts, the Disney Explorers Lodge and Hollywood Hotel have begun accepting reservations starting for May 15th. History was made at Disney's youngest park yesterday as Shanghai Disneyland became the first Disney park to reopen after a wave of closures. The park held a grand reopening ceremony led by Shanghai Disneyland President and General Manager Joe Schott. At the opening ceremony, Schott welcomed guests with the following message of hope, quote, "We hope that today's reopening could serve as a beacon of light across the globe, providing hope and inspiration for everyone, and can demonstrate that we can overcome any challenge together." Characters like Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Daisy, Goofy, and Pluto shared the stage, along with Shanghai Disney Resort ambassadors. At the end of the presentation, the band started up once again, and the park's iconic Duffy and Friends marched out to join the show. At Shanghai Disneyland entrance, characters waved from a safe distance aboard the train station that's not actually a train station. With the newly installed social distancing guidelines in place, all characters will now greet guests at a safe distance. A slew of characters ranging from Marvel heroes and heroines to Disney princesses and the whole Pixar gang were seen at the Shanghai Disneyland entrance waving at guests. Base characters like Captain Marvel, Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, and the princesses will not be wearing masks in order to stay in story. With meet and greets separately suspended, characters will be seen in a special procession called Mickey and Friends Express, which will take place several times daily. During this initial phase reopening, the park is limiting capacity to 30% or under 24,000 guests a day by order of the government. All guests must obtain an advance reservation in order to enter the park and undergo a series of temperature screenings and safety checks before being let in. Despite strict new protocols, guests seemed overjoyed to be back at their happy place. Spring decor is still up throughout the park, and cast members are making sure to wipe down and sanitize railings and high touch points. Watch a video of the reopening on our website. Over the weekend, they released a video touring the new procedures and safety measures at the park. The tour starts with a look at the area guests will need to wait in to have their temperature checked. Then you'll be allowed to enter the typical security screening area. Both of these areas you'll find markers on the ground so guests know where to stand. Purple and yellow mats line the ground 1 meter apart with the instructions, please do not stand. The ground is pre-taped with boxes so guests understand where to stand during the character procession. And as they walked by food kiosks, it was once again pointed out that the ground was marked so people would know where to stand when waiting in a queue. Any space where the line would be formed will be marked. The entrance to every attraction will have a cast member standing with a sign that reminds guests to stand apart from one another and maintain distance. Once inside the queue, the railings will have yellow markers. This notes where guests need to stop and wait so they do not get too close to the party in front of them. As well, there will be cast members stationed in the queue to help enforce these new rules, and even the ride vehicles are getting marked with tape to show where guests are allowed to sit. Restaurants are planning to allow no more than 50% occupancy. Due to this restriction, they have prepared queue lines outside of each. Once again, inside, the setup is similar to attractions. They're marking the floor to where guests can stand and where you are not allowed to stand. Select tables will also be marked as unavailable to help space people throughout the inside of the restaurant. Watch that full video at WDWNT.com. Shanghai Disneyland is jumping right in with their latest seasonal event themed around spring. There's special merchandise, food, and decorations all over, and it's only here for a limited time from May 11th through June 14th. When guests step back into Shanghai Disneyland, they'll be immediately immersed in a floral fantasy celebrating the colorful spring season. A Minnie Mouse floral featuring hundreds of vibrant flowers will greet guests at the entry portal. And across the park, many varieties of flowers will be in bloom for guests who admire. Eggs featuring the likenesses of beloved Disney characters, including several new Marvel heroes, will dot the park and Disney Town. In merchandise, you can find Minnie Mouse and Daisy Duck plushes dressed in beautiful cherry blossom dresses with a lovely spring fabric. The shades of pink and purple are continued in the Disney and Minnie Mouse crossbody bags and a matching sequin ear headband. More than 40 exclusive merchandise items are being introduced featuring spring colors and exclusive designs. And for a delectable beverage in an adorable goblet cup, you can choose from Stella Lou flavored oolong tea or Stella Lou peach flavored slush, or a Mickey goblet cup filled with honey pomelo flavored cooler, or Mirinda orange slush at any quick service restaurant. Dozens of special food items are available. You grab a Chip 'n Dale popcorn bucket featuring one of the chipmunks popping out of a donut. The classic Disney friends as well as Duffy will have friends, and Duffy and his friends will have some new outfits to celebrate the season as well. For more information on these stories and more, head on over to WDWNT.com. If you're enjoying the show, be sure to like this video, subscribe to WDW News Today on YouTube for more great content, and click the bell for notifications. Also, make sure to hit select all notifications so you never miss an episode of News Today with WDW News Today. For the worldwide leader in Disney Parks news, this is Tom Corliss saying enjoy the rest of your today and have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Stay safe, everybody.